In July 1996, a German family's American road trip ended in one of the harshest places on Earth, Death Valley National Park. Their story has since become a haunting warning about underestimating distance, heat, and isolation in the desert. 4 visitors from Germany, 34-year-old engineer Egbert Rimkus, his 10-year-old son Georg Weber, Rimkus's 27-year-old girlfriend Cornelia Meyer, and Meyer's 4-year-old son Max, arrived in the United States for what was supposed to be a classic Western vacation. They planned to tour well-known destinations in California and neighboring states before flying home from Los Angeles on July 27, 1996. On July 12th, they landed in Seattle, then made their way south, eventually renting a Chrysler minivan in Los Angeles on July 21st. Like many overseas visitors, they were attracted to the stark beauty and mystique of Death Valley, a place famous for record-breaking heat and vast, empty landscapes. At some point, they bought detailed maps of the park, suggesting they intended to explore far beyond the main paved tourist routes. The family checked into a motel in Las Vegas and visited attractions such as the Treasure Island Hotel, where Egbert faxed his ex-wife in Germany about financial issues and asked for money. From there, they drove into Death Valley, logged as entering the park on July 22, 1996. They stopped at Furnace Creek to buy a guidebook and likely continued to explore side roads that looked interesting but were poorly suited to a passenger minivan in midsummer. At some point, they headed toward a remote area called Butte Valley, visiting the well-known geologist's cabin, a stone cabin often used by backcountry visitors. Evidence from later investigations, including a missing American flag from the cabin and items later found in the van, showed they had indeed reached this out-of-the-way spot. Instead of returning to paved roads the way they had come, they appear to have tried to push farther along unmaintained backcountry tracks. Investigators later concluded that they were probably attempting a shortcut toward Yosemite, or at least toward the west side of the Sierra, without realizing how rough and slow those desert roads can become. Their rental van was eventually driven down Anvil Canyon, a closed and unsigned track unsuitable for ordinary vehicles, then got stuck in deep sand. The family tried backing and rocking it out, leaving long ruts and tracks, but the vehicle could not be freed. Out here, there were no services, no shade trees, no passing traffic, just rock, wash, and blistering heat. When Egbert, Cornelia, and the 2 boys didn't return to Germany on their scheduled flight, Egbert's ex-wife in Germany raised the alarm. For weeks, officials in the United States and Germany tried to piece together where they might have gone, eventually focusing on the rental van that had not been returned. On October 21, 1996, nearly 3 months after their disappearance, a National Park Service ranger flying in a helicopter spotted the abandoned white minivan deep in Anvil Canyon, miles from any main road. The van's tires were shredded, windows partly open, and some personal belongings remained inside, including the missing U.S. flag from the geologist's cabin. Nearby, searchers found a single beer bottle under a bush about 1.5 miles away, but no sign of the family themselves. An intense search operation followed. Hundreds of searchers, helicopters, and dog teams combed the area in searing heat over multiple days. Despite this massive effort, no bodies, clothing, or clear evidence of the family's route could be located in the vast maze of washes, canyons, and ridges. With no physical remains and only a small radius around the van thoroughly searched, speculation flourished, ranging from staged disappearance to foul play. One of the most thorough private efforts to understand the case was later undertaken by engineer and desert hiker Tom Mahood. Intrigued by the mystery, Mahood analyzed maps, park records, and search logs, then made repeated on-foot expeditions into the rugged terrain around Anvil Canyon. His working theory was that the Germans had tried to hike on foot toward what they believed was the nearest help, the China Lake Naval Air Weapons Station to the southwest. On a map, the base looks relatively close, a few miles over desert ridges. For Europeans used to more densely populated landscapes, that might seem like a reasonable walk. In reality, the route is brutally difficult. Steep, trackless hills, loose rock, intense sun, and temperatures that can soar above 45 degrees, 113 degrees, even in the shade, of which there is almost none. Years went by with no resolution. Then, in 2009, 13 years after the family disappeared, Mahood and hiking partner Les Walker found what searchers had never located. In a remote wash roughly 5 miles southeast of the van, in the direction of China Lake, they discovered skeletal remains and personal items that clearly linked back to the missing tourists. Authorities later confirmed through DNA and circumstantial evidence that at least one set of bones belonged to Egbert Rimkus, and strongly believed other remains to be those of Cornelia Meyer. Nearby were items such as a children's shoe sole and personal papers, suggesting the boys had been with them for at least part of the trek. However, the children's remains were never conclusively recovered or identified, leaving that part of the tragedy permanently uncertain. From the paths traced on the ground and the position of the remains, investigators believe the family left the stranded van with limited water and supplies, heading over the ridges toward where they thought the military base and help would be. At some point, likely overwhelmed by heat, dehydration, and exhaustion, the group became separated or collapsed in different spots in the same general area. The Death Valley Germans case now serves as a stark lesson in desert travel. The family made a chain of understandable decisions, seeking scenic back roads, trying a shortcut to save time and fuel, assuming that what looked close on the map would be walkable, and believing that a military base meant easy access to people and aid. Each individual choice might not seem wildly reckless, but together, set against Death Valley's extreme environment, they proved fatal. Searchers and commentators often point out that Death Valley's danger isn't just its famous heat. It's how deceptive the distances and landscapes can be. In much of Europe, it's almost impossible to be many miles from a road, village, or farm. But in the American Desert West, a few inches on a map can mean days of walking with no water, shade, or human contact. Today, hikers, off-roaders, and park visitors continue to visit the region where the Germans vanished, some even retracing the route from the van to the locations where the remains were found. Videos and detailed trip reports show how rough and unforgiving the landscape is, underscoring just how slim their chances were once the van became immobile and the family set out on foot. The story of the Death Valley Germans is ultimately a human one, a family on vacation, caught between curiosity, time pressure, and incomplete understanding of a foreign environment. Their fate is a reminder that in certain places, especially in the backcountry of Death Valley, nature still holds all the cards, and small misjudgments can have irreversible consequences. Thanks for watching. This has been National Park Mysteries.